You have asked me in the quiet of your heart, Lord, why the silence? You have looked into the sky with tired eyes, wondering if I still see you, if I still care, if I am still there. But I tell you now, listen carefully, because I am speaking, not with the noise of thunder, not with the fury of winds, but with the stillness that carries eternal weight. The silence you have walked through was never empty. It was not punishment. It was not rejection. It was preparation. Sacred, intentional, holy. I have been shaping you in the deep places where noise cannot reach, where only eternity touches the soul. This is where your spirit was refined. This is where your destiny was shaped. Far from the applause, far from the attention of others, far from even your own understanding. You may think that the best of your days are behind you, that the work has been done, that what remains now is waiting. But I tell you, this season of stillness was never a pause in my plan. It was the place where my hands were most active, though you could not see. You wondered why prayers seemed to echo back without reply. You questioned why doors closed, why relationships shifted, why the noise of the world grew while my voice seemed to fade. And in those questions, I was not absent. I was present in a way more intimate than ever before. I was whispering in a tongue too deep for the surface, teaching your spirit in a language that flesh cannot comprehend. Because at this stage of your journey, you no longer need noise, you need depth. You no longer need signs, you need substance. And substance is forged in silence. Remember, child, that I created the world not in chaos, but in stillness. Before there was light, there was silence. Before there was creation, there was a void, a holy hush waiting for my breath. And so I do again in you. In your later years, when the world says you should slow down, I say, I am just beginning something eternal in you. Do not mistake quietness for idleness. Do not measure your worth by how much the world hears from you, sees of you, or demands of you. For in my kingdom greatness is not found in noise, it is found in surrender. And you, in this season, have surrendered. You have laid down dreams, let go of ambitions, watched years pass with unanswered prayers. But know this, I have gathered every tear, recorded every longing, and I have not wasted one moment of your silence. It is in the sacred shadows that I plant the seeds of legacy. And you, beloved, are a tree that I have deeply rooted, so that in the days ahead, your life will bear fruit that others may eat and live. Do not say, but I am old. Do not say, my strength is gone. Did I not renew Sarah in her old age? Did I not call Moses from the quiet of the desert when his hair had turned gray? Age is no limitation to me. In fact, it is the vessel through which I often reveal my greatest wisdom. You carry within you experiences, battles, victories, and wounds that speak louder than sermons. And it is in this silence that I have been preparing you to speak, not with volume, but with authority. Not to crowds, perhaps, but to souls who are desperate for a word that only someone who has endured my silence can speak. I want you to understand the weight of what I've done in your hidden seasons. When others passed you by, I drew near. When you felt forgotten, I wrote your name again and again in my book of remembrance. While the world celebrated noise, I refined your spirit like gold in the furnace of quiet. You have not been buried, you have been planted. And in due season, you will rise with a harvest that only heaven can measure. My preparation has not been random. It has been divine strategy. I have been aligning the pieces, weaving the moments, adjusting the seasons. And yes, even now, I am still at work. The silence was never a void. It was a conversation between my spirit and yours that bypassed the need for words. You are hearing me now not for the first time, but because your spirit has been trained in the quiet to discern my movement. Many will ask, how did you keep faith when nothing moved? And you will say, because I learned to trust the silence. You will become a witness not only of my voice but of my character. Others panic in delay, but you will teach them that delay is often design. Others cry out when I seem quiet, but you will show them how to rest in my stillness. You will be my testimony in this world, not of noise, not of fame, but of faith refined in the sacred unseen. You carry something holy, child, and the silence has sealed it within you. Now, as I begin to unfold what I have hidden, walk not in fear. Walk in confidence. I have not kept you in the quiet because you were unworthy. I kept you there because you were precious. I had to protect what I was doing in you from the corruption of the crowd. Some things can only grow when shielded from exposure, and so I shielded you. There is more ahead. Do not believe the lie that you've seen your best days. What I've stored in this silent preparation will soon emerge in power. What others thought was your ending, I have called your equipping. I have been crafting in the quiet what will shake foundations when revealed. Trust me, every moment mattered. Every silent night was sacred. And now, even as you read these words, know, I am near, I am speaking, and you are ready. You think I stopped moving because you stopped hearing. You measured my nearness by your senses, by how warm your prayers felt, by how clearly my voice rang in your spirit. But I am not bound to your emotions. I am not held within the walls of your comprehension. I am God, ever present, ever moving, ever covering, even when your heart fell silent and your ears heard nothing but the sound of your own longing. I want you to understand this now, deeply and fully. Your inability to hear me never meant I was inactive. In fact, I moved most fiercely when you felt me least. When your heart was too weary to pray, I carried the prayers. When your strength gave way, I upheld you. When your mind was clouded with grief or confusion, I cleared paths on your behalf that you still do not see. I moved. I covered. And I did not forget. There were nights you laid your head down and felt utterly alone, wondering if I had withdrawn, if perhaps you had disappointed me too many times. Let me speak directly to that pain. No moment of your silence ever separated you from my love. My movement in your life was never based on your performance. I did not wait for you to be strong to start helping you. I moved when you were weakest. That's when my spirit hovered over you the most, like a mother eagle covering her young. You didn't see the wings. You didn't feel the wind of my movement, but they were there, surrounding, defending, and protecting. You didn't hear the footsteps, but I was pacing beside your bed. You didn't hear my voice, but I was rebuking the enemy for your sake, intercepting attacks you'll never know about. I know the ache of not hearing me. I know the inner desperation when you sat in your chair and opened the word, and it felt dry. When you went to church, and the songs didn't stir you like before. When you cried out in your car, "Where are you, God?" And I tell you now, I was closer than your breath. I was holding you in those moments, not punishing you, but shielding you from forces that would have crushed you had I allowed full visibility. You see, I do not always speak because I need you to know how to trust me, not just hear me. You have learned in this season that faith is not built on feelings. You have walked long enough with me to now begin to understand that my silence was not rejection. It was invitation. I was drawing you deeper, past what is comfortable, into what is unshakable. Every moment you spent wondering where I went, I was going ahead of you. I was preparing the next season while you sat in stillness. You thought nothing was happening. But do you remember the people who came to you out of nowhere with kindness? The random phone call when you needed it most? The protection from decisions you thought you wanted but were later relieved I didn't allow? That was me. That was my hand. I still moved. I still covered you. You do not serve a distant deity. You serve a Father who sees in secret, who works in silence, who never forgets his own. Some of my most powerful miracles are the ones you will never know I did, because they were so smooth, so hidden, that you assumed they were natural. But I want to reveal something to you now. I stopped illnesses before they formed. I redirected relationships that would have drained you. I withheld answers that would have led you down a wrong path. My covering has never lifted. Even in your questions, I never stopped watching over you. like a shepherd over his sheep. I watched while you slept, while you grieved, while you doubted. And while you were afraid that I had left, I had surrounded you more tightly than ever before. Because when your ears go quiet, your spirit listens more closely. When your confidence fails, your faith grows its deepest roots. I do not need applause. I do not perform on command. I am not a god of theatrics. I am a god of truth. And truth often comes in silence. In that quiet space, I was proving to you that your faith is not shallow, that you do not need constant signs to stay with me, that you are not a fair-weather follower. I allowed the silence to show you what I already knew, that your love for me is real, even when you are confused, even when you are weary, even when you feel forsaken. But you were never forsaken. I promise you that. You were protected. And my movement in your life during those quiet times is evidence of how fully I cover those I love. You need to hear this too. My covering was not just for your safety, it was for your legacy. You are not just living for yourself anymore. There are generations attached to your obedience, to your endurance, to your story. And when you couldn't hear me, I was securing blessings for your children and your grandchildren. I was planting righteousness that they will one day reap, even if they don't realize where it came from. The covering I gave you was also a covering over them. You stood in the gap in silence, and I responded with divine intervention. Heaven moved because you endured when you didn't feel a thing. You may never fully know the extent of what I did for you behind the veil of silence. But one day in my presence I will show you, and you will weep with joy. So now, I want you to trust me more than you ever have. You have heard my voice before, and you will hear it again. But even if there are seasons ahead where I speak less with words and more with movement, remember this: I am always doing something. When you couldn't hear me, I was still moving. When you couldn't feel me, I was still covering you. And I still am. You are never alone, never forgotten, never abandoned. My child, rest in that truth. Let it anchor your soul. I am here. I have always been here. And I will never stop moving on your behalf. I know how long you've waited. I have seen the weariness in your bones, the quiet sighs that escape when no one is looking. I have heard the unspoken prayers, the ones whispered not with words but with tired hearts that simply say, "When, Lord?" And I tell you today, with all the authority of heaven and all the tenderness of your Father's heart, the wait was not wasted. It never has been. Not a second of your waiting was meaningless. I was not late. I was not ignoring you. I was refining you, preparing you for something that only divine timing could deliver. You see through the lens of time, but I operate through eternity. You feel the minutes pass with urgency, but I sculpt your life with patience. What you called delay, I called design. What you thought was stagnation, I called sacred stillness. I did not hold back to punish you. I held back to prepare what could not be rushed. A child of faith like you, seasoned in years and in wisdom, must understand this above all. My timing is not based on how much time you think is left, but on how much depth I am building within you. I refine through waiting. In those long days where you looked around and saw others advancing, others receiving, others rejoicing while you remained in the same quiet place, I was doing a holy work in you that will echo beyond your lifetime. Waiting was not wasted. It was the very soil in which I planted your endurance. It was the fire that purified your motives. It was the lens that adjusted your vision to see what truly matters. Yes, the wait stripped you. Yes, it slowed you. But that was part of my divine plan. Because what I am forming in you cannot be rushed, cannot be copied, and cannot be missed. There is a beauty in late-season bloom. Flowers that emerge after the early rain often carry a fragrance that lasts longer. So too with your life. You are not behind schedule. You are right on time for what I have ordained. I want you to understand that what I am building through your obedience during waiting will outlive the noise of those who ran ahead. Because when you waited on me, even when it hurt, even when it felt pointless, even when you thought the window of opportunity had closed. You were not waiting in vain. You were aligning yourself with the eternal. That is not delay. That is destiny. There were days when you felt forgotten, when others passed you by, when birthdays came and went, when you questioned whether the promises I gave you in your youth still held true. Let me affirm it now. Not one promise I made has expired. I do not operate on a human clock. I do not issue expiration dates on my covenant. You may have grown older, but I have not grown weary. I am still the same God who spoke life into Abraham when he was far beyond his prime. I am still the God who fulfilled my word to Anna, who waited in the temple year after year for the coming of the Messiah. I honor the faithful who wait. And you, beloved, have waited well. The pain you felt in the delay was not punishment. It was purification. You didn't know it then, but in the silent seasons, I was removing the fear, the pride, the anxiety that would have sabotaged your blessing had I released it too soon. I was crafting in you the humility to steward what I'm about to release. You've grown soft in spirit, wise in heart, and steady in faith. And that is what I needed before I could move forward. You thought I forgot, but I was actually building a foundation that could hold the weight of your answered prayers. Look at your life. Can you see how I've connected the dots, even in hindsight? How people came and went, how opportunities were given and taken, how loss somehow became gain? That was me. Orchestrating, arranging, refining. What felt like wandering was actually weaving. I was weaving your story into something only heaven could compose. And now, as you near the next season, you'll realize that the wait did not delay your purpose. It deepened it. You have more to offer now than ever before. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to wait. And that kind of faith is rare. That kind of faith is powerful. When others rush, you remain. When others panic, you pray. When others demand, you discern. This is the fruit of divine timing. I did not withhold to harm you. I withheld to preserve you, to mature you, to make you ready. And you are ready. Not in your own strength, but in mine. The testimony of your life is not that you got everything quickly. It's that you waited long, trusted deeply, and stayed faithful even when it cost you. And in this world, where instant gratification rules, you will shine as one who understands the sacredness of process. Others will look to you and say, "How did you remain when everything was quiet?" And you will say, "Because I trusted the God who works in the waiting." My child, take heart. The refining was not cruel, it was careful. The waiting was not waste, it was wisdom. I have been watching over your time, restoring what seemed lost, redeeming what was broken, preparing what is holy. Even now I am opening doors that have been shut for years. Even now I am breathing life into promises you buried. And when they come to pass, you will not just be blessed, you will be ready. Because you were refined, because you waited, because you believed. So stand tall, even if your body is bent with age. Walk forward, even if your steps are slower. For you walk in step with eternal purpose, not earthly pace. And my timing, my perfect divine timing, is bringing forth a harvest in your life that will be worth every second of the wait. Trust me, I have never wasted a moment of your time, and I never will. You thought you were falling behind. You looked at the ticking clock, the aging of your body, the changes in your world, and said in your heart, "It's too late now." But I tell you the truth. What looked like delay to you has been divine acceleration in my realm. You were not behind schedule. You were not forgotten or disqualified. You were being propelled, positioned, and protected for a breakthrough so uniquely shaped around your life, it could only be accomplished by me. You measured progress by visible results, but I measured growth by transformation. While you watched for movement on the outside, I was reshaping the inside, preparing you for something more eternal than immediate gratification. I do not accelerate as man accelerates. You believe forward motion means something is happening, but I have often done my most powerful work in stillness, in what appeared to be slow seasons. My acceleration looks like reordering your priorities, softening your heart, sharpening your discernment, and clearing your vision. You thought you were standing still, but I was removing weights you didn't know you were carrying. I was setting you free from expectations that were never mine, detaching you from attachments that would have hindered the fullness of your calling. That's not delay. That's divine momentum in disguise. Your life has not been off track. It has been on a sacred path I've designed from the beginning. What seemed like years of delay were years of deep-rooted growth. Think of the oak tree. It takes longer to rise, but when it does, it is unshakable. You have become unshakable. You were not built for speed. You were built for endurance. Others may have moved faster, accomplished more by worldly standards, gained recognition. But you, child, have gained something eternal. You have gained wisdom, intimacy with me, and the kind of faith that will not break under pressure. That's acceleration in my eyes. Do you not see it now? Had I given you what you asked for when you first asked, you would not have had the strength to carry it. You would have misunderstood the blessing and mishandled the breakthrough. But now, after all the refining, the silent seasons, the waiting, the weeping, and the wondering, your spirit has been stretched. Your heart has been made tender, your ears tuned to my whisper, your eyes opened to eternal things. That is the real miracle, that you've become someone who reflects my image more than ever before. The delay was not a detour. It was me accelerating your character to match your calling. I know you wanted things to happen in your youth. I know there were dreams that seemed to die along the way. You grieved those dreams. You let them go with quiet tears and whispered prayers. But here is what you didn't know. I was never done. I am the God who restores what was lost, who brings beauty from ashes, who speaks to dry bones and says, "Live." What looked like delay was the planting season. And now, in this season of your life, in what others may call the latter years, I am about to bring forth fruit that was hidden in the soil of your obedience all along. Acceleration in my kingdom is not measured by how fast you get somewhere, but by how deeply you grow while you're on the journey. You have grown deep. And now, I am causing things to surface, not suddenly, but sovereignly. Doors will open not because you knocked harder, but because they are aligned with the rhythm of my will. People will cross your path not by chance, but by divine appointment. You will find yourself in rooms and conversations and moments that feel strangely right. That's because they were written into your story long ago, and now the pages are turning in sync with my time. You waited, and now your harvest is ripening. You endured, and now your strength is shining. You didn't give up when others did, and now your testimony carries weight. You may think, "Why now, Lord? Why not earlier?" And I say this, because now you are ready. Not just capable, but aligned. You don't seek blessing to boast. You seek it to bless. You don't desire answers for control. You long for my will. That is why I have chosen now. Because you have finally become fully available, fully surrendered, fully aware that what I give you is not just for you. It's for the generations behind you, the souls still watching, the legacy you're building. I am accelerating not your fame, but your impact. I am not launching you into noise, but into significance. The work I will do in and through you will not just satisfy a personal desire, it will establish something eternal. And all of it, is rooted in what you thought was delay. You may have gray hair and slower steps, but in my realm, you are running with purpose, clothed with wisdom, and crowned with glory. My favor is not limited by age. My calling is not bound by time. The world may overlook the elder, but I exalt the faithful. And you, beloved, have been faithful. So do not mourn the years you thought were lost. Do not carry regret for what didn't happen. Nothing has been wasted in my hands. Every tear, every prayer, every silent night has been gathered into the fabric of this moment. You are standing at the edge of something new. Not the end, but the beginning of a new kind of fruitfulness. And when it bursts forth, others will say, "Where did this come from?" And you will smile, not in pride, but in peace, because you will know it came from the God who never delayed, only prepared, from the God who did not slow you down, but rooted you deeply, from the God who didn't hold you back, but accelerated you beyond what time could measure.